Bolton also says that Trump told Xi Jinping that he approved of China's repression of Uyghur Muslims and other minorities, while publicly condemning the mass detentions. And earlier on Wednesday, Trump signed into law an act that calls for sanctions against Chinese officials who are involved. The US State Department says up to 1 million Muslims have been detained in camps. China's government says the centres provide vocational training. But Beijing has warned the US of consequences for interfering in its internal affairs. Let's bring in Andy Mock. He's a senior research fellow at the Centre for China and Globalization. He joins us live from Beijing. Andy, so how significant is the timing of this new law that Trump has brought in against Chinese officials over the treatment of its Uyghur minorities? And why now, Andy?
Well, I think the timing is indeed interesting. So we are right on the heels of the meeting in Hawaii between Secretary of State Pompeo and Aljazeera at a very tense moment in U.S.-China relations. So I think there's an aspect of that timing. The other part of the timing here is that this really is not a surprise. So this bill was proposed, it passed both houses unanimously. So there's only one vote against in the House of Representatives. It passed unanimously in the Senate. So I think Trump's hands were really tied here in that he really had no choice. That being said, the other aspect of the timing here is Trump really is caught up in the political contest of his life. And I think both parties, unfortunately, feel that they cannot be outflanked on China, meaning that each party must do its utmost to show that it is tougher on China.
Andy, we know that Beijing has warned the US of serious consequences if it meddles in China's internal affairs. So just briefly, what are the options open to China? And are we seeing Beijing perhaps take a harder line with Washington on issues like the Uyghurs, Hong Kong and even Taiwan?
We absolutely are. So we need to recognize that issues of territorial sovereignty are a red line for any country. But China in particular, look at India, look at Hong Kong, as you mentioned, look at Taiwan. And this is a well-used play from the U.S.'s playbook of fomenting unrest and sabotage domestically. So I think China has recognized that, unfortunately, since 2017, with the announcement of the national security strategy that the U.S. released naming China and Russia as an adversary, that I think China has no choice but to take a tougher line.
Yeah, and Andy, it is interesting because China says that the Uyghur issue is not about human rights, ethnicity or religion, but this is all about anti-terrorism and anti-separatism. But why is China so sensitive about the international optics of the Uyghur issue?
Well, I think it's certainly true that China, as a country that is increasingly vital and central to global affairs, whether we're talking about economics and trade, whether we're talking about issues like climate change, public health, that China recognizes that it plays an important global role and, of course, should pay attention to global sentiment. However, I think it is also very pragmatic in not letting the tail wag the dog, meaning that I think this is where Western media sometimes overemphasizes the importance that China places on global public opinion.
Just a final thought to you, Andy. We have this controversial book by John Bolton that says President Trump tried to get the Chinese president, Xi Jinping, to help him win re-election in 2020, but yet Trump portrays China as public enemy number one. So what sort of fallout in China can we expect from Bolton's accusations?
Well, I think you're right. I think Trump is in an incredibly awkward situation in that there are elements of his administration that are implacable China-phobes. I think he is much more pragmatic. But the more interesting comment from John Bolton is that the anecdote that Trump actually said to Xi Jinping that what China's doing in Xinjiang is actually the right thing to combat terrorism. So there is an element of, I wouldn't say duplicity, but certainly what I think what the administration might think in private versus what it says in public can be two different things.
Andy Mock, great to get your thoughts. Thanks for talking to Al Jazeera. Thank you.
Thank you.